we didn't have internet access,
Wow.
phones, watches, TV.
You're watching Calfkicksports podcast.
Hi there, folks. It's been a while, since we've had Cody on the show. But yeah, it's Calf Kick Sports, and we're just going to go through a few things about his time at TUF. Obviously, I know you guys are very keen to hear about Conor McGregor and Michael Chandler. But yeah, Cody, man, how you been? How's life a little bit after TUF? I'm sure you've left the house a few weeks ago now.
Oh yeah, it's been a couple months since we've been home, so just kind of been a little bit like the Twilight Zone, watching it all unfold, and like we have a group chat, the guys that were on the show, and like we just kind of talk about things and like how they portray certain things and how all of us are like managing things and sometimes dealing with the UFC or dealing with fans. And so yeah, it's been interesting, but definitely happy to be home.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure it's like a bit of a media frenzy for you now, especially coming off the back of it. Because for me, anyway, and a lot of my friends, we haven't really been that enthusiastic about TUF for a very long time. And obviously, this season's come along. You've got Conor McGregor and Michael Chandler in the mix as well. How do you say it differs, being on the show to actually kind of watching it? Like, how different is it?
I think, TV, the magic of TV is like the way things are put together
Yeah.
aren't always in the sequence that you remember them, um, like, and it's sometimes just little things, like if they're trying to highlight a fighter that might be fighting that week and they highlight a conversation that happened in the house. In my head, I'm like, that conversation happened at the end of the show or toward the end of you know what I mean? Like little things like that, because the format of the show and like each week, you've got to introduce 2 new fighters, especially during these first 8 weeks, the quarterfinals. And so like I'll have like little moments where I'm like tripping out my mind, like, did that happen then? Like I'm trying to like remember the sequence of things, and sometimes I'm second guessing myself, and then I'm like, nah, I'm pretty sure they just put that there,
Yeah. And you just look at the sunset. I'm like, no, this is definitely completely different. Different part of the day. Because I've seen, as someone who used to be fairly, into kind of trashy reality TV shows, they do edit very heavily. Was that frustrating to kind of, I mean, I've seen a few episodes of it. I've seen it up to date, actually. Would you say they've edited too much from yourself, or is it they kind of kept it true to what it is?
I think I've never worked in TV, and so like anytime I'm critical or have critique on how the show is produced and how it's edited, it's always with like an asterisk, because I have absolutely no idea what I'm talking about, But I mean, like for me, like what you don't see on the reality show is like the personal interactions between the fighters in the house, like sitting around playing cards in the evening or sitting in the hot tub, or whatever the case, just we had a lot of downtime in between training, and so there were a lot of interesting conversations and kind of dynamics that you don't get to see in a 45-minute show that has to pack in, hey, we've got to introduce each fighter, we've got to show their backstory, we've got to show some training footage, we might have like a short little like beef stuff from the house or between an interaction between the coaches, but it's very like packaged like that, and that's above my pay grade when it comes to TV production. But it's definitely like different,
Absolutely.
And I know I feel like I'm a part of the MMA community as much as I am a part of the whole like actually a fighter thing, because I follow things pretty closely and I follow a lot of media and like people. So I see the critiques of TUF for the last 5-10 years, like, hey, it's the same format, it gets stale. And so I can definitely understand a lot of that. But yeah, so I guess for me, it's just kind of weird, that they miss some of the human interactions that occurred, and the human relationships that were developed. But again, I don't know how they do it in 45 minutes. You got to cram all this stuff in there.
Yeah, I mean, not to shit on it, I'm enjoying it, but it's very formulaic, isn't it? It's like you got this fire, we introduce him, tell him a little bit about his backstory. This guy there, maybe some issues, the weight cutting, blah blah blah, and then you just go into the fight, and then that's it. It's very formulaic at the moment, but I'm still enjoying it. I've not watched Tough in a while now. In the previous Toughs, you obviously know this, but it's you can't really contact family or friends. You've got limited contact, or you don't have any contact. Was that the same for yourself, or did they kind of switch it up for the season?
Well, the interesting thing is that we were stuck in a hotel for, I believe, like close to 2 weeks. It was close to 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And they let us keep our phones for most of that time.
Yeah.
But once we, and there were more than 8 guys in each weight class at the hotel, so we all knew as we went through the medicals, that some of us were going to go home. And so that was really everyone's train of thought, was more of that. And then once all of that kind of got sorted through and the day of filming was going to start, and you're waiting in your room and hoping that you're not going to get a knock on the door saying you're going home. Because literally we're like looking at we can't leave our rooms.
Wow.
For almost 2 weeks. We had to call the production crew, and they had to come and escort us. Like, if we needed to, we got to schedule 2 workouts a day.
Yeah.
So you do one in the morning, and then you do one in the evening. And other than that, like, you were pretty much just isolated in a business hotel room.
We've had good practice the last 2 years, so it's
That is true. It felt like they're bringing COVID back, man.
So in the house, did you have some contact with your family, or is it just none at all?
No, yeah. We didn't have internet access, phones, watches, TV, newspaper. I tried to get the new. I put newspaper on the list almost every single day.
Really?
Just because I was like, let me just read the newspaper.
Yeah, it's not like you could contact anyone in the outside world for a newspaper, can you? So
no, but we couldn't bring books other than religious text.
What?
And I just started thinking of it through the lens of a production company, and like, we're trying to get good footage.
Yeah.
And if everybody's like isolating themselves in their bedrooms reading the Harry Potter series or something, like, it's not very good TV,
Yeah.
So I mean, I get it. It was rough, man. And things like music, you couldn't listen to music, so we don't really. I think if you're like me, like, I listen to music pretty frequently, but I kind of take advantage, or I take for granted how much of a part of my life it is,
What?
And then when you take that out of your life, and you're doing like things like, for me, like exercise, I always have music on when I'm exercising.
Yeah.
And so like, you're in the little like dungeon gym, the one that Conor was doing like his workouts in with the guys,
Yeah.
It's like a little basement room that had tons of equipment, and you're in there like riding an Aerodyne bike or running on the treadmill, and it's just like dead silence,
I can't think of anything worse, honestly. When I go to the gym, my battery's died in my headphones. I'm like, should I just end the day? Should I just end the workout early? Like, I'm just not that. I'm not that fast to do this. So what? You couldn't listen to music. You couldn't read books. Like, what would you could play board games, I'm assuming. Like, what is it that you weren't allowed to, like, what you were allowed to do then?
Yeah, you could. We had a deck of cards. We eventually got a chessboard. We had to kind of
awesome.
We had to fight for that, but we eventually got a chessboard.
You had to fight for a chessboard.
We put it on our list several days, and it was pending for about half the time we were on the show, but it eventually appeared. And I only think it appeared because the production company was getting tired of us playing the same card game over and over every night. Like, they would come in and be like, hey, we also have a shuffleboard table right here. And they would like have the rules of shuffleboard. Like, maybe you guys want to try something else,
Yo, that does sound very like that sounds like hell, honestly. Like that's tough. Were you there? How long was the actual filming period for? Is it like 4 to 5 weeks, or is it just a month? Or
So when we originally got to Vegas, in the hotel, we were only supposed to be in the hotel for a week, and then we were supposed to move into the house if we made it. After that week, Connor postponed the whole show.
oh, really?
Uh,
I didn't know that.
yeah, his schedule or pushed the show back another week. So we were already at the hotel when that news broke, and so all that meant for us was we were going to be, and at least those 5 days, the first 5 days we were in the hotel, we were somewhat busy during the day because we got our 2 like 1 hour workouts, but then we also had medical appointments. So like that kind of broke up the day when you had an eye exam at 11 and then like something else at 3, and like, so it kind of kept you moving. But then that second week we were done with all the medicals. So then it was literally a lot of just like sitting in your room, like watching cable TV movies and like, yeah.
Man, that is rough as fuck. That is super rough. I mean, it does sound very much like you just guys got locked in, like as if it's COVID part 3.
I honestly think if it was like a part of the whole idea of it, because like
Yeah,
if you isolate someone long enough and then you inject them into like a social setting like we were in,
yeah.
like maybe they're gonna be more talkative because they're just so tired of sitting in a room by themselves,
Or just more aggressive, and then we'll have a little bit of drama as well in the show. Why not?
Yeah, why not?
But so I've actually seen a few of your interviews just based on TUF just over the last couple of days actually. And you're probably sick of this question. I'm gonna try and rephrase it in a separate way. Now, what was your opinion of Conor McGregor before TUF, and what is your opinion now? So that will be pretty difficult because based on your interviews, I know you don't have the greatest opinion of him. But yeah, what would you say it was before and now it is after?
I mean, I'd only had a couple of interactions with him before the show.
Yeah,
We fought on the same card one time.
you did mention, yes, yeah.
Yeah, and so it was really his coming out party at UFC 170 against his first fight with Poirier.
Oh, that's it. Yeah, I remember that. Demetrius Johnson was fighting on that card as well, I think.
Yeah, it was the main event against Chris Carasoso.
That's the one. Yeah.
So I'd only had a few interactions with him, and him and Dustin had gotten into it at the Fighter Hotel prior to their first fight. And so I was in the room when that happened. So I kind of seen him a little bit. We had the same manager. I was with his management, Audi Attar, for about 10 years. So I had and I still have a relationship with those guys, even though they don't represent me anymore. We're friends, more or less,
Yeah, of course.
I definitely wasn't a fan of his personally, like on a personal level before the show. But I also knew that like a lot of these guys, like you look at Colby Covington, like every person that actually knows him is like, yeah, he's actually a really good dude.
Yeah.
Like, and then like, well, look at this gimmick he has, and like he's annoying. If you look at his social, if I didn't know anything about the guy and I just like looked at his social media, I'd be like, oh yeah, I don't like this dude,
Yeah, of course.
So I didn't know how much of it was that, but yeah, what I learned was that he's just a bit erratic. He's hard to read, and I don't know, man. I've never had that much money, so I don't know how I would be behaving, but I would hope that my character and morals and ethics and stuff like that would outweigh any amount of money you put in my bank account, and it wouldn't change me, but you never know. So
I mean,
he's just
no, sorry,
he's just not my cup of tea, like at the end of the day, like everybody's different and lives differently, and I don't know. I just like to treat people like my father always taught me, like whether it's the CEO or the janitor, you treat everybody the same. Like that mentality.
Yeah.
Like I'll stop and have a conversation with you, whether I can get something from you or whether you're just the dude cleaning the classroom after I'm getting off work teaching, like it doesn't matter to me. Like I'm going to treat everybody the same. And so I don't know,
Well,
I don't want to just shit on Conor McGregor.
No, I know. I'm just curious because even on the show, he does come across, and I'm a massive Conor fan. Like back in the day, I mean, it's hard to be a Conor fan these days. I'll be honest with you, really difficult. But just watching the show, he does come across slightly erratic. I mean, some of the just some of the advice that he came out with the other day. I think it was something about throwing the pain away like a pebble. I mean, it might work for some people, but it just seemed extremely stranger. And the guy is just standing there like, okay, cool, sure. It was such a strange analogy, and it doesn't. It seems like he's somewhat unhinged these days. Like he's not of a sober mind anymore. It seems like I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah, I think the people you surround yourself with, the circle you keep, if everyone is laughing at your jokes and if everybody is yes, like
True.
you're right, you can't be wrong. Like if you're sitting in a room having a conversation with someone who says something like crazy like that, like I would be like, what are you talking about, man?
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
what are you talking about?
Yeah.
But like because of who he is, like people just like,
yeah,
like I don't know.
They don't want to lose this either. They want to.
They don't want to. Yeah, the teeth they're suckling off of.
Exactly. But it is strange, but it does make me think, because I heard this phrase many years ago. I don't think money changes anyone. Money actually amplifies who you are as a person. So he might have always just been like that. But it's strange. But just moving on from Conor, because it's not going to be the Conor show here. But Michael Chandler as a coach here, he sounds in like the way he represents himself, amazing. Like he's actually after watching TUF for a number of years, I think I like him. I like Chael Sonnen. Chael Sonnen as a coach was brilliant as well. Rashad Evans. I think Michael Chandler's up there like as one of the top coaches of any TUF season. I know you've got like a good relationship with him. How is he as a coach generally, Cody?
I think he was just really deliberate in how he structured things, and knowing that we're only filming for 4 or 5 weeks.
Yeah.
That half of us are, a lot of us are either getting ready for a fight or we're coming off of a fight and we are recovering from that fight. In most instances, you're like not 100% after a fight. And so balancing that in a team atmosphere, and you've got like, how do you create a team out of guys that are potentially going to be fighting each other?
Yeah.
I don't know how he did it, but he did. I don't know. We gelled together really well. I think the fact that we were all veterans of the sport and had been to the UFC and then been released from the UFC, there was just a common, like, something that kind of connected us all there too, But yeah, he did an amazing job, and he really puts his best effort in anything he does. And that's the biggest takeaway I got from him was like his philosophy. He doesn't just like spout it in interviews or on his YouTube channel. Like he actually lives it. Like,
yeah,
whatever I'm doing 100%. And like, I think he just attacks everything in his life like that. And it obviously has proven for him to be a successful strategy,
Yeah, absolutely. Former world champion, top contender in the UFC, and he's still doing it at quite an advanced stage as well. But what would you say? I mean, would you say he's as nice as he is as on screen? You probably would agree. Like he probably is, but
he's genuinely like I mean, he's genuinely just a really good person. Like I was kind of talking about earlier, like the way he treats people. He's just treats everybody with respect, whether whoever you are, whether you're a production audio guy off to the side or you're Dana White, like you're going to be treated the same. And so I think we just clicked, man. And, I'm glad where I landed. At the time, I didn't really care. I was like, whatever, I'm here to fight these fights and win this show. And then in retrospect, I'm like, nah, I'm pretty stoked that I ended up on the team I ended up on.
Yeah, I mean, 4-0. I mean, it just says everything, doesn't it? Like Conor's absolutely getting smoked here. Now you've obviously you see the last episode with Tomo Valev versus Trevor Walls. Timo wins. Now I'm not asking you to kind of let the cat out of the bag here. You've got him next, and he's your teammate. Like how? I mean, try delve back into that mindset, because Obviously, he's been your teammate. You've been training with him. You've probably spent some time, talking to him in the house. How is it from flipping from a teammate that you're training with to knowing that you're going to be fighting them next in the semis?
Yeah, it definitely, once the semifinals get set, like it starts to get, you are going to have people that are in the same weight class and they're in the same gym, but again, like I'll just go back to like how Chandler kind of structured it. It was very, and I'm a teacher, so I don't know, maybe I have like I look at it a little differently because I've coached a lot myself and I obviously am a teacher. So he just made it like, our training as the weeks progressed and we got closer to the end became much more individualized.
Yeah.
So it started off earlier on like team practice where we all were doing the same thing, whatever the thing was we were doing, right? Whether we're doing striking or grappling or whatever. And as the show progressed and we got deeper and deeper into it, it became more of an individualized training session where you might have a couple guys over in this corner working with Drysdale. You might have a couple guys working mitts, a couple guys doing some cardio on the equipment, like different. And then, depending on the needs of the fighter and where they were at in their process, that dictated what they did for the day. And so I think that the way they structured it was deliberate and, wasn't by accident because I felt like it really was conducive to all of us, having the best, like he always talks about, like his mindset was like to put us in the best position possible to have the best chance at winning, and I think about those little things, like how he structured some of the things. And I look back on them and I'm a little bit, just grateful because I think they were deliberately set up the way they were set up and they were thought out,
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he even says himself, I'm not going to fight how I coach. I want to coach to win, which doesn't necessarily mean like, he's going to be boring or anything, but it's just a lot more strategic and it shows in his coaching. And yeah, it's been a pleasure to watch. Now this is more of a kind of a question, from one of our followers. Who would you say is the most annoying teammate on the show? If there is any, if there's none, no worries.
The most annoying.
Yeah.
It just depends. I mean, all those like East Coast guys,
Yeah.
like there's just a different vibe. Like
really?
like they talk a lot and they kind of shoot the shit a lot and just bullshit a lot more,
Okay. Yeah.
And like, so all those guys from the East Coast, like Carlos and Rico, and Landon, and he's a Florida boy, but Landon and they're just kind of always were like chirping, and honestly, it's not like I love those guys. They're actually all good dudes and we all have a good relationship, but in the house when you're dealing with all the stresses that it is, like sometimes you just get kind of tired of hearing them, like
yeah, I mean, as
like,
you would as well, you're in a close vicinity with everyone in the house, which makes sense as well.
yeah, but so yeah, it was just I've said it before, but like the younger guys, one of the things I noticed right off the bat was the younger guys were the loudest guys, especially early on in the show. I think they were a little bit nervous, and sometimes nerves translate into just talking a lot. So
yeah, of course.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So all those guys a little bit, but God bless them.
How difficult? So yeah, I was just forgot to ask this as well. How difficult would you say, is to kind of keep everything, fairly secret, especially to family and friends?
That's the hard part for me. I'm just like a pretty like what you see is what you get kind of guy. Like I'm not gonna beat around the bush. Like you'll probably know how I feel about you. I'm like very blunt and just like, I guess truthful. I don't know. Like I don't know.
You're
It's hard for
transparent.
me.
You're transparent.
It's hard for me to be like, people are like, well, what happens? And, and it's weird too, because some people, not a lot, but a few people like have gotten offended that I won't tell them.
Why?
Like they're not like
not allowed to do that.
I know. I explained that. Like I explained like, oh, they made us sign these NDA things and like we can't say anything about it. And they're like, they're not like throwing a huge tantrum about it, but you could tell they're a little bit like, what? I thought you would tell me, like.
You don't trust me, Cody? Come on.
Yeah. The best ones are the best ones were my students, my 7th grade students. Because they'd be like, Mr. Gibson, just tell me. I won't say anything.
I won't say anything. Yeah.
And I would always look at them and I would always be like, you are the last person on the planet Earth that I would tell anything to.
Next thing you know, you're just going to go viral on Twitter. I'm like, oh my God, this is what's happening now.
I know.
Similarities between this and this person. I'm like, thanks. But yeah, Cody.
It is weird, though. It is weird,
Yeah.
And my episode that my quarterfinal fight was on, my wife was like, hey, should we have some people over to the house,
Oh, you didn't even tell your wife? I mean...
No. My wife knows.
She knows.
My wife knows.
Okay.
But she just said, like, for your quarterfinal episode, do you want to have people over at the house? And I was like, I don't know. I kind of feel weird, And so I was like, I don't really want to. And she's like, well, let's just invite a couple. And anyway, it was just a couple families of kids in our neighborhood and stuff like that. And I just felt so weird watching it with them.
That was such a great performance, though. You should be proud of that. Like, why?
But it was like, for me, like, it's just such a weird experience because, like, that was a few months ago, like, there's nothing to celebrate now. Like, it's over.
Yeah. And you got people going, woo! You're like,
yeah, they're like clapping and cheering for me. And I'm like, this is so weird.
Jesus. But look, Cody, man, thanks for coming on again. Like, it was awesome. And I'm definitely rooting for you. I know you're not going to say anything. But I'm keeping up to date with TUF, and I want to hopefully, I'll get some good results at the end of this. But yeah, we'll have you back on for sure, Cody. Not much else, but look, I want to let you have the last word. Tell the followers where they can find you. Anything you want to plug, go for it.
All I'll say about the show and what's to come, we have 8 more episodes to go. We have 4 more quarterfinal fights and then the semifinal fights.
Yeah.
And again, I don't know how it's all edited, so I'm kind of on this journey with you guys in a lot of ways, but there were a lot of things that happened that when they happened, I said, that's going to be on the show.
Oh, really?
Nice.
And
they haven't happened yet on the show. So, it'll be interesting to see how it's put together. I know I'm kind of curious about it myself. So there's more drama that hasn't really happened yet. So, yeah, we'll see how it unfolds. But I think that the people that are watching and are interested in it, they're in for some interesting stuff, especially the people that like the drama side of things, people that saw like the interaction between Landon and Rowe and were like, oh, that was interesting. Let's see where that goes. Anybody who's into that kind of part of it, I think, is in for some more stuff that they're gonna like. So yeah, man, just thanks for the interview. I appreciate it.
Yeah,
go follow me on Instagram or Twitter, I guess.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, so make sure I'll send all the links below, but make sure you follow Cody. And yeah, man, we'll do this again for sure, Cody. Thank you.